Get out and wait outside. You have no business being here. The voice sliced through the quiet afternoon like a blade, cold, disdainful, and commanding. I'll call security if you don't leave right now. People like you don't belong on flights like this, the attendant barked. Olivia Bennett, an elegant black woman, stood frozen. The silence that followed seemed to swallow the entire terminal. Outside, rain began to spatter against the runway at Westchester County Airport, and there she stood, a billionaire, the very owner of this airline, being humiliated by an employee who had no idea who she really was. The attendant had just made the worst mistake of her life. The sky that day was a heavy gray blanket, warning of a coming storm. Olivia had just arrived from London, where she'd closed $1 billion deal, her glossy black Mercedes gliding up to the lounge entrance. Her designer stilettos clicked softly against the damp concrete. All she wanted was a moment of quiet in the premium lounge before boarding her private jet home. But the moment she approached the door, Jason Miller, the lounge manager, stopped her with a skeptical tone. "I'm sorry, ma'am. This lounge is for first-class passengers only. Please show your boarding pass and membership card so I can verify your access." Olivia arched an eyebrow at his challenge. For more than a decade, she had entered this very lounge without issue, always discreetly. Without a word, she retrieved her platinum membership card and boarding pass and handed them over. Jason scrutinized them, lifting them to the light as if inspecting for fakes. His sigh was loud, performative, designed for others to hear. "These look unusual. I've never seen cards like this. Are you sure you're allowed in here?" Olivia's voice stayed steady. "I assure you, they're genuine." Jason didn't soften. "Fine, but you'll have to wait outside while I verify. We need to protect our high-end customers' privacy." His tone was laced with condescension, his sneer unmistakable. Olivia swallowed the insult and stepped outside without protest. Moments later, an older white man walked up. Jason's demeanor changed entirely. "Good afternoon, Mr. Patterson. Your flight is boarding shortly. Please come in. No ID check, no suspicion, just a warm welcome." Olivia stood outside, rain soaking through her luxury coat, watching one well-dressed white passenger after another walk past without question. 25 agonizing minutes later, Jason returned, still brimming with suspicion. "All right," he said reluctantly. "You can come in because of the rain, but we'll be keeping a close eye on you." The words cut deeper than the rain. Here she was, a CEO who ran a multi-billion-dollar aviation empire, being treated like a criminal in her own lounge, reduced to nothing by a man whose prejudice couldn't fathom that she could be the boss. Drenched but composed, Olivia entered the lounge, her face unreadable, but her resolve sharpening. She wouldn't unleash her authority, not yet. She wanted to see this play out, to see just how deep this culture of quiet bias ran. Jason stalked her with his eyes, whispering to another attendant, "Keep an eye on that woman. Let me know if anything's off." He made no attempt to hide his words. Olivia settled into a plush leather chair in the corner. No one there knew she was the one signing their paychecks. The woman who could fire Jason with a single call. Jason returned to his desk, his chest puffed with the self-righteous pride of a man who thought he was protecting the sanctity of the lounge. In his mind, he had a sixth sense for spotting real first-class passengers, middle-aged white men in tailored suits. A lone black woman didn't fit his picture. Across the room, a young attendant named Mia Collins watched with discomfort. She had seen Olivia forced to wait in the rain while others strolled by unbothered. Guilt gnawed at her, but as a junior staff member, she stayed silent. Olivia saw it all, the glances, the whispers, the bias running deeper than one man. This wasn't just Jason's failing. It was a rot in the system she'd built. Suddenly, Jason strode over, leaning slightly toward her. "Let me make this clear. We'll be watching you closely. Any suspicious behavior, and I'll call security." Olivia met his stare. "Do you do this to all your guests?" she asked evenly, "or just the ones who look like me?" Jason froze, then quickly put his mask back on. "I do it for anyone I think needs monitoring," he said curtly before walking away. His words stung, not just personally, but for everyone who had endured the same quiet humiliation. Olivia didn't respond. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction. Instead, she made a decision. She wouldn't act yet. She'd let them expose themselves. Only then would she dismantle this toxic culture from the inside out. The rain outside pounded against the windows like a drumbeat, the storm outside mirroring the one brewing inside her. After a long silence, Olivia rose, slipping her damp coat back on. Her heels echoed softly across the marble floor as she walked toward the glass doors. On the tarmac, her private Gulfstream jet gleamed, a quiet reminder of who she really was. And this was only the beginning. Blocking her path stood Emma Roberts, the head attendant, famous for her sharp instincts when sizing up passengers, but about to make the gravest mistake of her career. Emma's eyes scanned Olivia from head to toe with open contempt, suspicion flickering in her gaze. Before Olivia could even speak, Emma cut her off. "Sorry, but this is a private jet. You can't board." The words hit Olivia like a splash of ice water. Still, she remained calm. "I know exactly where I am," she replied evenly. "I'm a passenger on this flight, and I have all the proper documentation." Emma's lips curled into a mocking half smile as her gaze swept over Olivia's rain-dampened coat and understated designer heels, finally resting on her face. In Emma's world, Olivia didn't fit the mold of the wealthy clientele she was used to serving. "Honestly," Emma said coldly, "you don't look like the kind of passenger we normally see. Are you sure you're not supposed to be over at the commercial terminal? It's about a mile in the other direction." The barbed insult struck deep, but Olivia's composure didn't falter. She simply extended her boarding pass. "I suggest you verify my information before making any assumptions." Emma didn't bother to take it. Instead, her tone sharpened, growing louder so the nearby staff could hear. "Do you even know how much it costs to fly on this jet? Trips like this don't go for less than $75,000. Frankly, I don't think that's a price people like you can afford." The word stung, meant to humiliate. Ground staff glanced at each other, but quickly looked away. Captain Richard Davis, observing from the cockpit, saw the commotion but turned his back, deciding it wasn't his problem. Emboldened by everyone's silence, Emma raised her voice. "Security! We have an unauthorized individual attempting to board a private aircraft. We need assistance immediately." Jason Miller appeared moments later, his posture rigid and authoritative. "You need to leave this area at once," he demanded, "for authorized passengers only." "I am an authorized passenger," Olivia replied, her voice unwavering. "Check the manifest." But Emma wasn't interested in facts. Holding up a hand to cut Olivia off, she declared with icy finality, "I don't need to check anything. I know who our real customers are, and you're not one of them." The apron went still, the silence almost suffocating. Olivia stared back at Emma with frightening calm, her voice soft but deliberate. "Are you absolutely certain?" Her words carried a warning, a final chance for Emma to step back. "I'm 100% certain," Emma snapped, her arrogance unshaken. In that moment, Olivia knew there was no turning back. She retrieved her phone with deliberate care, ready to make the call that would dismantle the smug certainty of Emma, Jason, and the toxic system they represented. The storm outside raged harder, as if echoing the one building within her. "Where's security?" As if doubling down could mask the flicker of doubt now crossing her face. Jason stepped forward, siding with Emma without hesitation. "You've been told to leave. This isn't a place for loiterers or troublemakers," he said, his voice booming. Olivia lowered her phone slightly, fixing him with an icy, piercing stare. "I strongly suggest you check the manifest before making this worse." Jason smirked, glancing at Emma. "Emma, what do you think? Does this one look like a VIP to you?" Emma scoffed. "If she were really one of our passengers, we'd know. She's just trying to sneak on. Happens all the time." Their mockery rippled outward. A few staff chuckled nervously, unwilling to intervene. Olivia, unshaken, extended her documents again. "Here are my boarding pass and ID. I won't say it again." Jason snatched them, glanced at them with dismissive exaggeration, then laughed loudly, calling out to Emma. "Look at this, boarding pass and a black corporate card. Impressive. But you know as well as I do that anyone can fake this stuff." Emma sneered in agreement. "Oh, please, a black card? Anyone can get their hands on one of those. She really thinks this scares us?" Their shared laughter echoed, amplified by the cowardly silence of those watching. But Olivia didn't flinch. She stood still, not because she was powerless, but because she was waiting for the exact moment to strike. Emma, growing impatient, muttered to Jason, "If security doesn't come soon, we'll deal with this ourselves." Jason nodded. Ma'am, you need to leave now before we take stronger measures. Olivia's gaze pierced them both. Her next words were quiet, but thunderous in their authority. Are you absolutely sure you want to see this through? Because once I finish this call, there's no undoing it. Emma laughed harshly. Oh, how scary. Jason, did you hear that? She's threatening us. Jason smirked. Yeah, go ahead. Make the call. Let's see what you've got. Unfazed, Olivia raised her phone to her ear and spoke with chilling precision. Lauren, connect me to Ethan and the executive team immediately. We have a serious situation at Westchester that needs urgent attention. For the first time, Emma and Jason froze. A flicker of unease crossed Emma and Jason's faces, an instinctive premonition of trouble, but pride anchored them in place. By the time reality sank in, it was too late. The storm outside intensified, the pounding rain drumming against the tarmac like an ominous warning. Olivia stood unmoving, cold, poised, and waiting. The tables were about to turn, and those who had insulted her would soon face consequences far beyond anything they imagined. The moment Olivia's voice, calm yet cutting, rang out through her phone, the air around them grew heavy and still. The terminal seemed to hold its breath. Only the relentless rain filled the silence, a hard, angry rhythm on the concrete. Lauren, connect me to Ethan and the full board of directors. Immediately, Olivia said, her voice carrying a natural authority that made nearby staff instinctively take a step back. We have an urgent issue at Westchester Airport that needs immediate attention. At the mention of Ethan, the company's COO, Emma flinched, though she quickly masked it with forced bravado. In her mind, Olivia was just putting on an act, a desperate performance to save face. Jason curled his lip into a sneer. Call whoever you want, he mocked. Nobody's buying this little CEO routine. This isn't your stage. Olivia didn't respond. Her eyes, calm, steady, and as unyielding as stone, locked on his, silently measuring the perfect moment to strike. Seconds later, Ethan Bennett's voice crackled through the line. Olivia, it's Ethan. Are you all right? What's the emergency? Olivia didn't look away from Emma or Jason as she spoke, each word as sharp and deliberate as a blade. I am being blocked from boarding my own private jet by our own employees at Westchester. They are telling me I'm unqualified to fly on my own plane. Call an immediate board meeting. I am Olivia Bennett, CEO of Bennett Aviation, and this is completely unacceptable. The words landed like a hammer, shattering their false confidence. Emma's blood ran cold. She darted a glance at Jason, hoping for reassurance, but his mask of arrogance was cracking, sweat pooling at his temple, his jaw tightening. Yet Emma's stubborn pride refused to yield. She forced a laugh, her voice artificially loud. Did you hear that, Jason? Now she's claiming to be the CEO. What's next? President of the United States? Jason chuckled weakly, clinging to the act. Exactly, Emma. She's so desperate she's pretending to be our boss. Pathetic. But his voice trembled just enough for everyone to hear the lie beneath his confidence. The surrounding staff exchanged wary glances, but none dared speak. Understood, Olivia, Ethan said firmly. I'll handle this. I'll be there right away. Olivia ended the call, slipping her phone into her pocket with slow precision. When she turned back to Emma and Jason, her eyes were like steel. Emma Roberts, Jason Miller, every word you've said to me today, every insult will be used as evidence against you. Emma tried to laugh, but her voice cracked. You think you can threaten us? Whoever you are, it doesn't change anything. We were just doing our jobs, protecting the company's real passengers. Jason gave a small, uncertain nod but said nothing, his gaze darting nervously toward the bystanders. Olivia held their eyes a moment longer, disappointment carved into her face. I gave you one final chance to recognize your mistake. You failed. From this moment forward, you are fully accountable for every action you've taken. She stepped aside, waiting. In minutes, Ethan and the board would arrive, and with them, the full weight of the reckoning Emma and Jason had brought upon themselves. The storm raged on, each drop seeming to wash away layers of the company's long-hidden ugliness. From the steps of the jet, Captain Richard Davis and First Officer Tyler Evans finally emerged, their expressions a mix of skepticism and concern. Davis had been with Bennett Aviation long enough to know one thing. Nobody carried themselves with that kind of quiet power unless they truly had it. His gut tightened. Tyler leaned closer, murmuring, Captain, something's off. Maybe we should double check her credentials. Before Davis could reply, Lucas Parker, the ground supervisor who had been silently observing, stepped forward, his face taut with hesitation and resolve. Emma Jason, Lucas said carefully, I really think we need to recheck her paperwork. We might be making a huge mistake. Emma spun toward him, eyes blazing. Lucas, I don't need you telling me how to do my job. I know exactly who I'm dealing with. If you don't want to get dragged into this, stay out of it. Her venom pushed Lucas back a step, silencing him. Jason crossed his arms, emboldened by her defiance. You heard her, Lucas. This isn't your responsibility. The other staff exchanged quick, uneasy glances, but none dared intervene. And in that suffocating tension, Olivia stood silently, composed, unshakable, knowing the storm was about to break. Do you want me to continue with the aftermath? When Ethan and the board arrive and Emma Jason finally realize the full gravity of what they've done? Don't stir up trouble for yourself, Emma snapped, her words cutting like glass. Lucas's pride stung, but without the authority to challenge his superiors, he lowered his head and stepped back, regret flickering in his eyes. The chance to set things right had slipped away. Captain Davis watched the exchange, his unease growing heavier by the second. He stepped closer to Emma, his voice low but firm, though it trembled with tension. Emma, at least double-check the passenger manifest. If we're wrong, the fallout could be far worse than you think. Emma's glare was icy enough to freeze him in place. I told you already. Get back to the cockpit and do your job. I take full responsibility. Davis stood stunned, shame washing over him. As a veteran pilot, he knew silence in the face of wrongdoing was complicity, but fear for his career locked his tongue. First Officer Tyler Evans, sensing his captain's turmoil, felt the same crushing shame but kept quiet, his courage buckling under the weight of the moment. With every attempt at intervention silenced, Emma and Jason grew bolder, their false confidence restored. Emma turned to Olivia with a smug smirk. See? Nobody here believes your little act. You'd better leave before this gets more embarrassing. Olivia didn't respond. Her anger had cooled into something far sharper, cold, cutting clarity. She wasn't just standing here for herself anymore. She was standing for everyone who'd been silenced by cowardice, complicity, and unchecked prejudice. The rain hammered the airport windows as if condemning the indifference around her. Olivia's gaze swept the group. Emma's smug defiance, Jason's uneasy arrogance, Lucas's regret, and finally Davis and Evans, who couldn't meet her eyes. She understood then. Real change wouldn't come from those who looked away. It had to come from her. Checking her watch, Olivia stepped forward and said, her voice calm and razor sharp, in just a few minutes, you'll see exactly who needs to leave this place. Her words cut through the storm like a blade, a quiet promise of the reckoning about to arrive. With deliberate composure, she retrieved her phone again and made another call. Ryan Hughes, she said, her voice commanding, immediately secure and pull all security camera recordings from Westchester Airport in the last hour. We're dealing with a serious racial discrimination incident that needs to be investigated at once. Ryan Hughes, the company's head of security, immediately recognized the gravity in her tone. Understood, Miss Bennett, he replied crisply. I'll dispatch our team immediately. We'll handle this swiftly. Olivia ended the call without another word. Emma and Jason exchanged uneasy glances, scanning the terminal as the implications sank in. How much had the cameras caught? For the first time, fear crept into Emma's chest. Jason's hand trembled despite his attempt at stoic composure. Their arrogance was giving way to dread. Then a quiet voice cut through the tension. Mia Collins, the young ramp attendant who'd watched everything unfold, stepped forward. Her voice trembled with guilt and courage as she bowed her head. Miss Bennett, I want to sincerely apologize for everything you've endured. This was a terrible mistake. I'm ashamed I didn't speak up to protect you. Olivia's eyes softened. Amid the cruelty, Mia's simple apology felt like a small light in the storm. Thank you, she said gently. Your courage means more than you know. I hope that from now on, no one else has to endure this. Emma's face twisted with fury. She strode toward Mia, her tone sharp and venomous. Mia, you have no authority here. Get back to your post before I take serious action against you. Mia flinched, fear flashing in her eyes. But Olivia stepped forward, placing a steady hand on Mia's shoulder and fixing Emma with an unflinching stare. "Emma," she said, her voice calm but laced with steel, "you're the one who should be worried about the serious measures I'm about to take." The words hit like a slap of ice water. Jason involuntarily stepped back, his trembling hand betraying just how far this had slipped out of their control. Lucas Parker, watching nearby, felt shame burn in his chest. He regretted not having Mia's courage. Davis and Evans, too, looked stricken with regret, knowing their silence had made them complicit. Olivia turned back to Emma and Jason, her voice slicing through the downpour. "In just a few minutes, when the footage is reviewed, you will pay dearly for the prejudice and arrogance you've shown today." Neither Emma nor Jason could muster a reply. Their earlier confidence had dissolved into confusion and fear. The rain still poured as if cleansing the airport of its long-ignored ugliness. Captain Davis, unable to bear his doubt any longer, quietly pulled a tablet from his jacket. His fingers shook as he pulled up the passenger manifest. When he saw the very first entry, his heart nearly stopped. "Oh, Bennett, owner, CEO." For a moment, all sound faded, replaced by the deafening pound of his heartbeat. He looked up at Olivia, standing like an unshakable force of nature, and realized the full gravity of their mistake. "My God," Davis whispered, his lips trembling. First Officer Tyler Evans, noticing his captain's expression, leaned closer. Tyler's eyes scanned the tablet, and his face turned ghostly pale. "No way, she really is the owner of Bennett Aviation," he whispered, his voice trembling. That single sentence spread like wildfire among the nearby ground crew. They froze, staring at Olivia with a mixture of fear and regret. Lucas Parker lowered his head, shame washing over him. He wished he'd spoken up sooner. Still refusing to fully grasp the situation, Emma lashed out. "I don't know what she thinks she's doing, but this circus ends right now. Emma," Captain Davis cut in sharply, his tone unusually firm despite his shaking voice. "You need to see this." Emma turned toward him with irritation, but the moment her eyes met the manifest, she froze. Her smug expression collapsed into panic. "Oh, Bennett, CEO," she stammered, barely able to form the words. Beside her, Jason went pale, his earlier arrogance evaporating into raw terror. The staff around them bowed their heads, avoiding Olivia's piercing gaze, the weight of their silence crushing them. They finally understood that their complicity had helped create this ugly moment. Olivia said nothing. She didn't need to. The truth spoke louder than words. She knew this was more than a personal affront. This was the beginning of a revolution at Bennett Aviation. The deep-rooted prejudice that had tainted her company was about to face a reckoning. Outside, sirens wailed, cutting through the tension. A convoy of sleek black SUVs screeched to a halt at the airport entrance. The door of the lead vehicle swung open, and Ethan Bennett stepped out, flanked by top attorneys, HR leaders, and the company's security team. Ethan's face was carved with fury, his usually composed demeanor now sharpened into cold, righteous anger. As he entered the VIP area, silence fell like a heavy curtain. His eyes immediately found Olivia, his sister, the woman who had poured her soul into building Bennett Aviation, standing strong despite the humiliation she had endured. "Olivia, are you okay?" Ethan asked, his voice gentle but edged with steel as he quickly crossed to her. "I'm okay, Ethan," Olivia replied, summoning her strength, "but I don't think our company is." Ethan understood exactly what she meant. He turned his gaze on the trembling employees. Emma couldn't meet his eyes. Jason stood beside her, ashen and shaking. "What happened here?" Ethan's voice boomed, low and commanding. "Why was my sister, the CEO of Bennett Aviation, treated like a criminal on her own plane?" Emma's throat tightened. She tried to speak, but her words came out stammering. "Mr. Bennett, we were only trying to protect." "Protect whom?" Ethan snapped, his tone razor sharp. "Protect actual passengers or protect your prejudice and ignorance?" His words cut through the room like a blade. Emma's face drained of all color. Jason stumbled back, fumbling for an excuse. We didn't recognize her. We thought." "You thought what?" Ethan shot back, his voice like a hammer. "That a black woman couldn't possibly own Bennett Aviation? That your bias mattered more than fact?" No one could meet his gaze. The staff stared at the rain-slick floor, shame consuming them. Ethan signaled to his team, "Secure this area. Preserve every second of surveillance footage." Ryan Hughes, head of security, immediately began directing his people to seal off the lounge and collect evidence. I want a full briefing, Ethan ordered. Every detail, every action, every word said to my sister, and I want it now. Emma and Jason were visibly shaking. They knew there was no escape. Captain Davis stepped forward, shoulders slumped. Mr. Bennett, I checked the manifest. She was on it the entire time. This was a grave mistake. Ethan's stare hardened. Thank you for finally admitting it, Captain. But your silence at the critical moment is inexcusable. You had a duty to intervene, and you didn't. Davis had no defense. He nodded in defeat. Olivia watched quietly as Ethan took charge, his presence breathing strength into her resolve. This wasn't just about punishing 2 employees. This was about cleansing the company she had built. You're not alone anymore, Ethan said softly to her. We're going to fix this, completely. Olivia nodded, feeling his words like a promise. The rain outside began to ease, as if nature itself bore witness to the dawn of accountability. Olivia turned to the staff, her voice calm yet commanding. Everyone on that plane, now! We're settling this here. Emma and Jason froze, but they knew better than to defy her. The group filed silently into Olivia's private jet. Once inside, Olivia strode to the head of the conference table, her presence dominating the room. Ethan stood beside her like an unyielding pillar. She turned to Emma and Jason, her eyes as cold as steel. Explain to me, she said, why you treated me, the CEO of this company, as if I were an intruder on my own plane. Emma swallowed hard. Miss Bennett, I was only following security protocol. I thought. Olivia cut her off, her tone glacial. Does your protocol involve judging passengers by the color of their skin? Or was that your personal prejudice deciding who belongs here? Emma had no answer. Her head dropped in shame. Jason offered a pitiful excuse. I was only supporting Emma. I didn't realize. Olivia's voice sliced through him. Do you understand the humiliation you caused? Do you even comprehend the gravity of what you've done? The cabin fell into deathly silence. Olivia turned to Captain Davis. You've admitted your mistake, but you enabled this by remaining silent. You are suspended pending a full investigation. Davis bowed his head. Understood. Then Olivia delivered the final blow. Emma Roberts, Jason Miller, effective immediately, you are both terminated from Bennett Aviation. You have 30 minutes to collect your belongings under security supervision. Discrimination will never be tolerated in my company. Their faces drained of all life. They couldn't speak. They couldn't even move. Olivia's gaze swept the room. Let this be a lesson. Prejudice doesn't just hurt individuals. It poisons entire systems. It ends today. Her words sank deep. Everyone in the room felt the weight of them. Ethan placed a steady hand on her shoulder. This isn't just about punishment. We're going to root out the culture that allowed this to happen. And so they did. Within days, Olivia and Ethan announced sweeping reforms. Mandatory anti-bias training for every employee, from ground crew to executives. An anonymous third-party hotline for reporting discrimination and unethical behavior. AI-powered monitoring systems to flag discriminatory language in communications. She also rewarded integrity. Mia Collins, the young attendant who had apologized to Olivia despite Emma's threats, was promoted to senior customer service manager. Lucas Parker, who had at least tried to advocate for fairness, was made regional director of service and culture. In a powerful address to the entire company, Olivia declared, Bennett Aviation will no longer be judged solely by revenue or growth. We will be judged by how we treat one another, by our courage to face injustice and eradicate it at its root. Her reforms didn't just change the company. They ignited a movement. National headlines praised Olivia's decisive leadership. Harvard Business School created a case study on Bennett Aviation and the corporate revolution against discrimination. She testified before Congress declaring, profit without justice is meaningless. Social responsibility is not optional. It is an obligation. Even Emma Roberts, months later, published a public letter of apology, admitting her prejudice and ignorance, and joined Bennett's new anti-bias program, sharing her experience as a cautionary tale for others. Olivia had turned a moment of humiliation into a catalyst for transformation. At her father William Bennett's 70th birthday, he stood proudly and said, Olivia, you've shown us that power without purpose is just privilege, but power with purpose can change the world. And it had. What began as a bitter humiliation became a legacy of courage, empathy, and reform. Olivia Bennett wasn't just remembered as a brilliant CEO, but as a fearless leader who fought for justice. And now I'll leave you with this. Would you have had the courage to stand up the way Olivia did? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so this message can reach even more people.